We're here at Watches and Wonders 2025, talking to Ben from Ressence Watches with an exciting new release, of course, and we're going to feature a couple of the amazing watches here at Ressence. Ben, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So for those who maybe are unfamiliar with the brand, maybe did you want to introduce them to the world of Ressence, what the brand represents, and kind of what makes your watches unique and different from the rest of the industry?
Good question. Actually, we have a very different approach to watchmaking. Most brands have been created by watchmakers, so they have an approach that starts with the movement very often, because for a watchmaker, the movement is the core of what he does, and he builds the watch around the movement. Whereas our source, our origin is industrial design. And when you're an industrial designer, your starting point is not the engine. Your starting point is you as a human. You're the owner, the user. That's your starting point. And so we start really with you, and we build the watch from you into the watch. So we have an approach that is like 180 degrees opposite compared to normal watchmaking. And the result, of course, is very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you see.
I think one thing that characterizes your watches is definitely the design, right? You can see that obviously there's an approach, there is a kind of design ethos that is completely different from everybody else in the industry. And I think it starts obviously with the kind of oil-filled watches, which I think Ressence is most known for, right?
Yes, because it's the most striking result of our philosophy, basically. And the philosophy is really that of form, follow, function. I guess you heard about that. Most designers really like that one. And form, follow, function is literally the form, the shape follows the function it has to do. A product has relevance because of its function. If a product is not so functional, like say applied to a watch would mean a watch that's not so easy to read, is maybe not as good as a watch that is easy to read. So this is, of course, our philosophy. I'm not criticizing anyone. I respect every vision, but this is ours. Form, follow, function. We try to follow that. And so the result is that when you fill the dial with oil, actually you take away the refraction between the sapphire glass and the dial. And so you get like nearly a digital effect. Even though it's a mechanical watch, it looks very digital. People, it's striking when you see it. You think, okay, this is not possible. This is not a real thing.
Yeah.
But it's the whole idea, because we believe that a watch should only show the time, and should show the time as much as possible and be as big as possible, because the bigger the dial, the easier to read, obviously. The more contrast you give it, the more readable. And so all these little things, when you add them up, you get a watch that, first of all, looks very different, but also is very legible. And when it comes to reading the time, the more legible, I think, the best relation that you will get with the watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, right? And while you have untraditional designs, I think that they speak to a lot of people because they're so different compared to what you'll see. And although they are untraditional in design, there is an aspect to them, in my opinion, that is very traditional, and that is the regulator format of the timekeeping devices, right? Obviously, that's a very old school kind of complications used by watchmakers and their clocks to set their kind of timekeeping watches, because the seconds were really important, right? Was this a design choice by nature because that's what you wanted to do, or is it just that's how it came about?
Yeah. I have to tell you, when I designed the first Ressence, I didn't know the word regulator.
Really?
So
okay.
Yes, I didn't know it was something. I didn't know it existed. So it was just the consequence of the choice to make everything in one surface. So all the information on the Ressence is in one surface, sometimes flat, sometimes curved, but it's all in one surface. Actually, what we sometimes say is that we make mechanical screens. See, so it's like a screen, but it's mechanical.
Sure.
It's like words on paper. It's like paper, but it moves. So this is really the logics, because reading a two-dimensional information is easier than a three-dimensional information. But when you have a watch and you put all the hands in the same layer, well, they will collide because they will collide at one point.
Right.
So we've made a kind of ballet, like a dance, a planetary system called sometimes in watchmaking, where all these information is turning around each other, not to collide.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that. To be fair, I didn't know that, so that's news to me. I thought obviously that was kind of the roots in terms of classical watchmaking, but I guess it just speaks to kind of the avant-garde nature of your watches, which I really enjoy. And obviously we have a couple of established model lines from Ressence, but I think what stole the show for you guys is obviously your novelty this year, of course, your new watch with a new bracelet as well.
Sure. So it's called Type 7. Here I have the anniversary edition because, by the way, we're 15 this year.
Congratulations.
And we did a special color, so a bit more bright than we usually do. So yes, it's an integrated bracelet. Actually, it's a full titanium watch. Even the green parts are titanium parts. It's oil filled, which is signature of Ressence. It for sure has the dial system that is typical for Ressence also. It has also a second time zone, so you could call it a GMT or a dual time, whatever. So you can, this is also a feature on this watch. For us, it was really the idea, if I go back to the philosophy of form, follow, function, a functional watch is very much in our DNA. And actually a watch, if you can make a watch that you forget, that you only think of when you need it, I think you've done a good job as a designer. You can argue that, but some people say, well, I need to feel reassured. I have still my watch on my wrist, so you make it very, very uncomfortable and very heavy. So then you have you solve that solution. But we think a watch should be something you forget about, and your brain should be triggered. Okay, what's the time? My first thought, my first reflex is this. You've done a good job. This instead of my pocket and search my phone, So we consider that we have done a good job if this is your first reflex, if you look for time.
It's creating essentially the tool watch of the modern day, right? Although it's not used to the same kind of degrees that we used to use in the 1950s, for example.
Yes.
Obviously, it has a different perspective or a different use in real life. But I couldn't agree more, right? That's really important because what's our nature is to just pull out our phone and see the time, right? So of course, if you wanted to present, obviously, I think this is an absolutely beautiful watch.
Thank you.
A striking number of different finishes. Obviously, you have the oil-filled dial. You have, of course, that pop of the bezel and the color, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. But the bracelet itself and the case is what I think is most impressive. It looks like a monoblock case, right?
Yeah, it is a monoblock case.
Yeah, monoblock case with a beautiful satin finish to it, and then you also have the polished bevels running along the side of the case and the bracelet as well.
Indeed. So we made the case and the bracelet, of course, in titanium, and we use actually something that's called glass pearl. So would you take a microscope and you would look at the case surface, you would see like a golf ball. This is the texture you get. So it's all little open holes in it. And this gives this like a satinated effect, but very soft. And then we have the finishes also to make it a bit more luxurious. We have the polishing on the edge. So it's tool watch, but it's a nice one.
Absolutely. And you built it purposefully for obviously the user friendliness of the watch, right? Again, it has all the core kind of components of Ressence, but you also include something I think that watch collectors look for a lot, and that is a micro adjustment in the clasp, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have this micro adjustment, so it's very visible. Many people think this is the way to open the clasp, but no, the opening is on the sides here. So it opens like this. But this thing is actually a slider. So if you push it this way, you can open and release the thickness. So there are 5 positions. You can put it somewhere in between or on the end. So you add actually 1 centimeter, like half an inch, a little less.
Which is amazing, right? Because that essentially allows you to adjust the watch without actually physically taking it off the bracelet and potentially dropping the watch or anything like that.
Yeah.
Again, so it's just really built for purpose and user friendliness.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is, I think, a fantastic release. Something that's new for Ressence, right? Although your watches, I think, are very sporty, very playful, I think this is definitely more so in the sports watch realm. Is this something that you guys are going to focus on more and more?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. Actually, yes. We consider ourselves of being 1 foot in the industry, but also 1 foot outside the industry. When you put oil, you put magnets, you put bellows, you put temperature, you put all these things in our E-crown even. We have other watches with more technology.
Yeah.
You put a foot outside the industry. No one does that.
Sure.
But with this watch, we said, okay, I'm also part of this industry, and I want to also play according to a certain number of rules that are part of our industry. And I believe that making a watch with an integrated bracelet I think it's a very nice thing to do, and it's very logical for us to do because again, we look at it from a functional point of view. If you can wear a watch and you never have to think about it, even if you go in the shower or you go to swim or you do whatever you want. I think we've done a good job from a functional point of view, and then it's also a nice thing because it's also referring to very iconic watches in the industry. So for me, it's a nice glimpse.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Last question, I'll let you get back to it. I know you guys are super busy over here.
Thank you.
When it comes to the actual watch itself, right? Obviously, this is one new release that you've come out with in 2025. As you just mentioned earlier, this is your 15-year anniversary. Is there anything that we can expect more from the Ressence brand to finish up the year?
Sure, of course. We have a few very nice things that will come out this year.
Any hints for us?
Fortunately, okay, yes. We do an art watch with an artist, and we will do also a collaboration with a very famous designer, and so we will have also a very nice product just for the end of the year.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, Ben. Thank you so much for
Thank you
your
very
time.
much.
I really appreciate it, and congratulations on the launch of your new watch.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. If you enjoyed these watches or have any questions about Ressence watches, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to help and answer any questions you may have. I'll see you guys in the next one.